And we are live. Greetings. When I was a boy, I knew I was different, seeing things beyond the sight and understanding of others, feeling things that no one else around me understood or cared to help me with. Left to my own devices, I was pursued by something that took offense to my desire to live past its attack and drove my family mad. In the end, I stood tall, barely. Now I stand ready to help other children of the light, gifted people in need of guidance, who have only known what it is to be different and marginalized because of those differences. You are not alone. You are loved, and the light in your life is in your life for a reason. Believe it. For those of you who are simply interested in learning about the world beyond your own, there is room for you too. Welcome, all who come to this place in peace. Come now and let me show you the wonders in which I have walked. Okay, so today I want to start off with a little bit of an admonishment. When I do a video, and I have done quite a few now, I do not ever send people or say you should go to these places if they are dangerous. In our last video, which had to do with Athelhampton Manor, somebody decided to tear into me on the comments saying that we were wrong, well, I was wrong, and that everything I said was wrong. When I asked for clarification, it just came back more of the, you're wrong, these ghosts didn't exist. This person said, oh, I was the historian for the Athelhampton Manor, and the person types atrociously. Which indicates that either the person was never a historian because their ability to read, let alone write, was not going to be up to snuff, or I don't know. I couldn't even impute any kind of a meaning beyond that. And the person also was not on the list of employees for the Athelhampton Manor as a historian at any point in time. One of the things about the internet is you can look up almost anything you want. However, this person had apparently said on a BBC channel page when discussing Athelhampton Manor and the movies that were shot there that her father used to work near there. I fully sympathize if you love that house. But if you're going to pretend that you're the historian and not actually read the data on it, including the fact that Lady Cook, the lady who actually is the wife of the owner back in the 1950s, noted the ghosts that I actually could see while watching a movie that was being shot on not the ghosts, then you've got problems. You shouldn't lie. If you need to discuss something that you don't like, if you don't want people to know that there's ghosts there because you think that's going to scare people away, say so. Say, I disagree with you revealing things that current media has already revealed. And if you're going to tell me that a tree doesn't exist because you're telling me that it isn't a tree, or that it isn't an oak, which I wasn't saying was an oak, I said it was big like an oak tree, a very large tree, and you want to correct me that it's a kind of a cedar, cool, tell me that stuff. But don't say that tree doesn't exist when I actually can look on the internet and be able to find over 20 different shots from the 1920s to currently. That tree is there and growing. It's been there apparently for more than a century. So, and it was a cedar. So you basically told us exactly what we needed to know. The reason why it was reflecting energy back at the house. And to say that I was calling this place dangerous when I was actually putting my stamp of approval on going there and being able to feel energy and find your own truth, which Joel and I discussed in your own way and in your own time in a safe manner, I just don't know how to help you. Please don't comment. If you just want to troll, don't troll my pages. I didn't delete this person. They deleted themselves. So all of the comments are gone now. I would have liked for people to have read this kind of crazy because it was crazy. It was like talking to a child who wanted to say, nuh-uh, it's not really that way. Almost as if they assume that everybody who's in this is either illogical or always looking for a paranormal reason for certain things. We don't. When Joel and I went into any place, we went looking for explanations other than paranormal first. We debunked everything we could, and when there was nothing left except what our senses could tell us, because I hate to say it, we do have more senses than the average person, we can't ignore that. And when I'm watching a TV show, or sorry, a movie, and I'm able to stare into the darkness over people's shoulders and get a feel for the aura of the house and allow information to pour into my head that I couldn't possibly know. I couldn't, because I'd never heard about Athelhampton Manor, nor did I know this was Athelhampton Manor, and pick out 3 ghosts that the Cook family affirmed existed. that the Cook family actually said existed and noted and put in the historical records for the house. Okay, that in and of itself is what we call proof. So unless you're saying that I'm simply going, let me look through the records on this place and be able to say, oh, look, I knew this stuff was there because I want to make myself look awesome, I wouldn't have had other people do the research and tell me about the ley lines and the data, so I couldn't be corrupted like, what's his name, the psychic that went there, John Dacamore or whatever, who's known to be a fraud. Okay, I'm trying to give you proof and facts and not show that I'm really good at spoofing the situation, that this is real. If that isn't enough for you, there are other channels out there. Just don't come and troll mine. It doesn't make any sense because we use methods to debunk things, but telling me that I'm wrong when there's literally all you're doing is say, no, you're wrong, no, because it's all fake. That's not really that's not discourse. That's basically slandering us. Or was it libel if it's written? I can't, whatever it is. If you're gonna slap libel down in the comments section, I'm going to hit you back with everything I got that's factual. I'm not going to do anything less. So to Emma Park, the person who actually came at us, I do apologize if you're offended by some place that you find absolutely gorgeous being, I guess you'd say, paranormally active. You can't blame me for the paranormal activity that's been noted in the place for nearly 800 years. Okay? If you're really the historian, you would know that 800 years worth of gathering this information, sounds, sights, and saying that the dark abbot that appeared in the upper hallways was never seen, and the gray lady was only seen upstairs when she's never seen upstairs. She's only seen downstairs, like I said, only in the study and only in the servants' quarters. Okay, Lady Cook even said so. Please, please, don't treat us like we're idiots. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. I'm not trying to make people believe. I'm just trying to give you the facts so that those who actually are interested in learning can see that, yes, your senses can be opened up to being able to pick this stuff up even off of film. So with that out of the way, the whole point of this video actually now is about reviewing Ghost Adventures Season 14, Episode 1, which is, in my opinion, one of the funniest, if not the most fun episodes of Ghost Adventures ever. It was hilarity from beginning to end. Since Joel is falling asleep, we're going to start with Joel's impressions. Joel? Joel's under the weather, by the way. If I sound a little stuffed up, it's because of the allergies and cold.
Yeah, my impressions. Oh, it was hilarious. There's a lot of things that they did that they should have. There was a couple scenes. One in particular when Zach was investigating the camera that got knocked over and Aaron was coming down. You know, that like Aaron scaring Zach and vice versa. You know, that it would have been better if they would have just like let each other know what was going on. Like one was coming down. But I think my biggest one is when Aaron was talking to the spirit up in the attic and it turned the spirit box on and he was freaking out when it said the ghost hunting. The spirit box on and made the raspberry. I thought that was pretty great because he was so busy freaking out. It was like he didn't acknowledge the fact that it was a raspberry.
Yeah. Now, you have to keep in mind that the attic actually had only a girl ghost in it. The little girl, I think she was Eileen or Irene. I never got it straight. She was first. She decided that okay, Aaron, as we all keep saying, is the most gifted person in the group. With a little bit of training, Aaron would actually be able to expand his senses and be considerably more open and able to see things. Things actually usually chase him around, but he's the main target for almost anything because almost everything around him is lit up by his gifts. Sonia, what did you see then? What did you feel then?
It was like I say, he felt, especially when Aaron was upstairs. He was. It was definitely a lot more like a playful thing. Like you knew it was a child. That's what I got anyway. But yeah, like I say, I got a feeling as Aaron sat down and he was talking, I knew something was going to happen to him to make him squeal, and it was funny.
It
And
is. It
then
was.
the spirit box.
It was horribly funny. Go ahead.
And like I said, I got another feeling like the spirit box was going to do so. I didn't know it was going to turn on, but I knew there was felt like energy around it.
Yeah, the gathering storm that usually happens around Aaron, it's almost like they pull energy off of him in order to be able to do things. It's like first you get him shocked, and then the whole environment erupts with energy because of of his shock. And then it used that energy to say something into the spirit box after it turned it on. Then it was, okay, spoilers. For people who haven't already seen this, you have to actually see the episode. We do talk spoilers. I probably should have put that at the front, but I'm like Doctor Strange, the warnings after the spell book. So screw me, right? Anyway, it gathered the energy. First, it poked him in a very delicate place, and then the girl decides to tell her, so he goes hunting, and then, and I would have liked for them to have kept the mic going on this, because after you try doing a raspberry for longer than because it takes a lot of breath, longer than 10 seconds. This thing went on while Aaron's trying to talk, and it kept going, and he's trying to explain what just happened to him. And then they cut away, and it was still going, and he's still talking over the loud raspberry. And this thing actually turned later on in the episode, after the girl had messed with them down in the hallway and they got her on camera, though they don't see it. It turned the thing on, and Jay Wasley nearly jumps out of his skin. And I don't remember, was there what was coming through the spirit box on that one? It just turned itself on, or was it the raspberry again? I can't remember.
I know it's they asked it, was it you that slammed the door?
And it turned it on and it said I had to, wasn't it? Or
yeah, I had to, or I slammed, yeah. I remember that, but I think it was the raspberry what came through first again.
It's the girl was just trolling them hard. And what was your other complaint, Joel, with the camera?
The fact that right when the scan, like they would scan it, and then they would, like, right when you start to sense something there, it's almost like they would get uncomfortable and move the camera away from that area wherever the energy was at. So you couldn't get a good sense of what was going on. They couldn't capture what was there.
The one time they did, the 2 times they did capture something, if you want to watch the episode again and see, before the camera in the main hallway that points down the second floor towards the attic door access, right before when the door, it's the same camera that picks up when the door opens itself to the attic. You actually see something in the doorway to the right of the attic door, or I should say right in line with the camera. It seems to come to the edge of the doorway, step up to the point where it's nearly in the doorway, and then it sort of reaches out on the left and right. There's these globular things that look almost like a hand appendages or shadows of such. And you can see a head near the top of the door frame. So it's fairly tall, probably about 6 foot. And then the camera keels over, and you see a light anomaly running down. It goes past it and then down the stairs, which is how the little girl ghost seems to have gotten downstairs before the guys, because they do then go downstairs, and she's hiding by the doorway when they're in the kitchen. They don't show her until right at the time when they switch to the camera to show you when the door opens up. And the little girl actually opens the door, and she's peeking through the door at them. it took me a long time to be able to get, because it's in infrared, to be able to see this, because it's, I don't know why, but infrared does not pick up ghostly images very well. It's their choice to do it because their theory is that a ghost is either colder or warmer than the room that it's in. I don't know why. Most of the time, the images that are most accurate to what you can see of ghosts that don't manifest directly is usually in the ultraviolet, or when they do the what is it? The structured light, the one with the lasers. What is that called? It's based on the Xbox thing.
I think it was right. It's like the
The SLS camera.
light. Yeah,
the SLS camera. That one sometimes will show you, humanoid figures of different varying shapes and sizes. They almost never seem to use that one, and that's one of the more accurate of what they have. And the ultraviolet. They're sticking to infrared, and I can tell you that infrared will never pick up as much as low light. Now, the paranormal lockdown with Nick Groff, they usually use low light, not infrared. And so you get a lot more with that show. There's quite a bit more to see, and some of it is phenomenally disturbing. Sonia, you'd actually seen what I was talking about in that one episode, right?
Do you mean, say that again, sorry, I had to nip to the loo, sorry.
in Paranormal Lockdown, you saw the thing that was behind.
Oh yeah, behind, like using his arm to, like, I couldn't see the leg, like I say, but yeah, like I say, I sensed it. Then I sort of saw its arm, like, sort of dragging itself across the thing.
Mm-hmm. And the cameraman the two cameramen for Paranormal Lockdown are the gifteds in the group. That they never get to be on the show until they actually point out that they saw something. And oftentimes, because of them being behind the camera, I actually see the stuff and can sense it moving before they clean up the picture and then show the cleaned up picture over their shoulders in low light or infrared. And these guys are way more gifted than Aaron. How they're still on the show, because they should be nervous wrecks because almost everything shows itself to them, I do not know. They get to leave for the night whenever there's time. They actually get to leave the building and then come back.
Well, isn't it in the second episode where one of the cameramen are actually bitten, like twice? Yeah,
that's why I said that these are the gifted people in that show, and I feel really badly for these poor bastards because they're mercilessly and doggedly pursued. They see things, they get shown things, and the things that they see are frightening. There was actually, in one of the episodes that was from last week, the one of the latest ones of Paranormal Lockdown, I think it was their new season, they were in a jail, and this shadow thing actually pops out of a known haunted cell, looks at them, and then goes back. Now, before you could see this, they had to clean this up to change the color, the brightness perception, because they had to remove Nick's face from the shot so that you could actually see the dark and light behind him because of the low light glare off of his face, and then you could see it. But before that, I actually heard the thing speak and could feel it behind his shoulders, and then the cameraman saw it. And if you actually get a shot to see this, go and watch. It is quite frightening because it leans out, and the thing is better than 7 feet tall. It is very tall. It actually looks like it is leaning down so it can stick its head out of the doorway, look through the doorway, and then pull itself back. And they run down there to take a look. There's nothing there. It's not as solid as the thing that actually crawled across in that insane asylum. That was it, or was it a jail? I don't know. They keep going to one or the other, and that one was the really frightening thing. If you want to give yourself a hell of a scare, you can see this thing, and they say, "Oh, it looks like it's slithering." It's not slithering. It's crawling. It's crawling like something out of a horror movie because it doesn't have full control over its faculties. This will scare you until your poop comes out day-glow colors. And for those of us who actually have sight to be able to see these things more clearly, they don't just scare you. They actually will suck the wind right out of your sails. So Aisha's being quiet. I'm sorry. She didn't get to see the episode. But we love her just the same. You're great, Aisha. She's occupied right now.
You say you love me just the same. Like, I'm not the one sucking the wind out of your sails. Why you say it like that?
I did something. No. The ghosts suck the wind out of our sails.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about. The ghost on there freaked us out.
I heard you. Then you say, "But we love her just the same." Like I'm the ghost.
No. I said
you
didn't get to see the episode, but we love her just the same because she's busy. You're doing mom things, and she's really great at it. She recently dealt with some things that were not wonderful around her new home, and I swear if I had a mom like you, I would have had a much happier childhood. She's like beyond awesome, folks. So yeah, the ghosts in the paranormal lockdown were really that was bad. And there's also another one that I highly recommend people watch, especially for those of you thrill seekers who think that all this stuff is just all wonderful and it's about as dangerous as going to Knott's Scary Farm for Halloween. It's a new series called When Ghosts Attack, because you all think we're joking when we say these things can reach out and touch you. It's not just feelings. It's like, oh, got a couple of scratches. No, these things can reach out and kill you. They can shove you down a flight of stairs. They can punch you. They can cold cock you. They can scratch you down in the marrow of your bone. But even more so, if they have enough strength that they've gathered, they can reach inside you. And just like in the movie The Frighteners, they can crush your heart. If you think I'm kidding, there's actually recorded episodes of this occurring. This one couple who lived in a home that was menaced by a male ghost that had lost his family and then committed suicide in the basement in West Virginia actually killed the husband by and it was killing him over the course of time. It reached in and blew his heart out, and this man was bleeding as his heart was being crushed through every orifice in his body, from the kitchen to the bathroom where he finally collapsed. So I'm telling you now, folks, if you think this is all fun and games, it's not. The Ghost Adventures crew don't go where it's super dangerous, and they do stay away from the things that are known to be lethal. That, at the very least, is a smart thing. And fortunately for them, they were actually tempted to going into and doing, I think it was a ghost hunting in the home in San Pedro. And I have to call everybody's memory back to this one because Joel and I knew about it when we were still learning. This home actually had an entity in it that was probably the most racist ghost in the world. It did not like this woman living in the house because she was white and having a Hispanic man's children, and she was living there alone. It was an old gentleman who had lived in the house until he died. Now, the haunting in this place was so severe that when people came in to investigate it, the ghost actually tried to kill the skeptic in the group because he dared to be skeptical, because he dared to dare the thing. And they went up into the attic, and this thing yanked the poor bastard off his feet and hung him. Yes, hung him. There are pictures. You can look them up. It's frightening. Hung him by the neck. Now, at this time, I believe it was 1989. I still hadn't graduated from high school. Joel was in the Air Force, and it was something that we discussed because it was in the news. They actually had it on NBC News. NBC News was trying to spin it out by saying, "Oh, the woman was on hallucinogenics," because it was reported by two ministers that came to supposedly exorcise the house. They didn't do anything of the kind. They went in there and said, "Oh, you know you're inviting these things in because you have a skull in your aquarium for the fish to swim around." You think I'm joking? I'm totally not. This is how useless a great many people who you actually think are supposed to be helpful to you are. This is how they think. This is what they do. Do you remember that, Joel? I think he fell asleep. I bored him to tears. Joel. He's snoring. So, welcome back, Lori. Sonia, did you ever hear about this haunting?
I think I actually watched it on the show that did show Paranormal Activities. The thing me and my partner watched at one point. It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, give me a second. I'll try and pull up a picture so that I can show you the what happened. But yeah, how you doing, Lori?
Good. I know the exact case you're talking about. It was really freaky to me.
Did you get to see the reenactment? They couldn't go into the real house because the real house is gone. They bulldozed it.
I heard they bulldozed it. Yeah. No, I haven't seen the reenactment.
They actually did it in a different house.
I saw all the pictures, and I heard I watched videos on all the accounts of the people. It was crazy.
Keep talking. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fill up the space while I get the picture because I want to get the image and show people.
Oh yeah, wasn't it an officer? 2 officers went up and they were like looking around, right?
No, it was one was there were 2 photographers. One guy, the one who was hung was still a photographer.
All I remember was there was 2 men, and I remember officers were called at one point.
So I'm going to screen share this now. This this is the thing here. Hopefully you can see it. There's not a green strip that's up there at the top, right?
Mm-mm.
No,
I can see it.
Okay. As you can see, the gentleman he was actually yanked. This is 3 seconds before the guy started snapping this picture. The dude was right by the entrance to the attic. He got yanked clean off his feet and then hung there. And that cord wasn't even there in the previous pictures. As you can see, it happened on September 4th, 1989. This was the I think this was the year right after I graduated. So that was when I graduated. I just graduated like June before this. And
yeah, like I say, yeah, I've definitely heard of it because that pictures, yeah.
And the dude is what they can't show you is the fact, because this is an old camera at the time, is the dude is literally holding on to the wood because his feet are off the ground. They had to come in and they had to bend the hook to get him off of it because it was all twisted, like it had spun it around to make sure that there was no room, and his feet were about a foot off the ground.
Yeah, didn't the other cameraman go and rescue him?
Yes, the guy who actually had the movie camera, that they actually kept pulling. They would put a fresh battery on, take it into the attic. The battery would die after 5 minutes. They would put the camera down so the third guy could put a fresh battery on it, take it up over and over, and the battery would die. And it was bizarre, the crap that they went through. And this lady kept on being, she kept on, there was another picture. Oh, there was another one that shows how bad this was before. Yeah. Oh my God, that's bad. Okay, I've never seen this one before. Oh, here's a pair of them. Okay, let me view the pages so I can show you. See if I can't widen this up and screen share it, because this is indicative. This is indicative of what you could see. See, the one on the right is this shows exactly what the guy dealt with, the poor bastard, because at a certain point he was no longer able to hold on, and they quickly ran in. He'd got one leg over I remember them saying he'd gotten one leg over it, and then they had to cut the line. The guy pulled out his knife, and he found it was difficult because it was actually some kind of a wire, not a cord. So getting through the metal underneath was more a matter of cutting the insulation and then trying to pull the guy down because it was that bad. And yeah, that was pretty damn scary. Yeah, Joel's out of it. Poor guy. He's still working as a nurse while exhausted. So if anybody wants to claim that I induce people to go to places that are dangerous like this, literally slap yourself, because I will never, ever, ever say, you know what, this place is dangerous, go there. Go there and see if you can expand your senses by putting yourself into danger. That's like saying, you know what? I think the best way to learn how to survive combat is to throw you into a war zone and see if you escape alive. Never put those words in my mouth, ever. So what do you think of all this, Aisha?
Well, I was thinking about as far as when I saw the pictures that you just put up there. That's what I was trying to I was trying to figure out what was he doing with his leg, and you explained it, that he was actually trying to help hold himself up there. His eyes looked like it was rolling in the back of his head, like he was dying. Did he make it? Did he actually live? Did he survive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He was a skeptic up until that moment. In a previous visit about 2 months before that one occurred, he had gone into the house, was saying stuff it wasn't real, and the first time they went up into the attic, the old man slapped the camera out of his hands, slapped it out of his hands 20 feet into the darkness. They ran out of the attic, and then the guy says, "Oh no, that is a $2,000 camera." Now keep in mind, this is a $2,000 camera for 1980s. That's at $8,000 equivalent now. So he went back up there and found that it was in two pieces, and the two pieces were 20 feet away from where he'd lost it. One, the lens was in a basket, and the camera was actually near where he got hung. So the energy what happened was the ghost broke it apart, threw one piece away, and then put the other one where he'd eventually hang that guy. I was looking for the pictures for that, but I couldn't find any. And that, it wasn't like they didn't have ample warning. When they did the recreation of it for forgotten what the name of the show was, the guy was saying, "Yeah, I'm a total believer now," and the guy's still alive, but you could tell that affected him terribly. You suddenly find out that, hey, dude, you were an atheist, B, a skeptic, and C, a complete unbeliever of the paranormal, and you just got woke up. It happened to me when I was a kid. When your mind is this set and you're an adult, it is fracturing to your world view. And now this poor guy you could tell that that even though he's doing the photography still, he's worried that this is going to happen again, because it can happen. It can happen. And if you're going to go someplace where the thing's known to be physically abusive, you're going to get hurt. I keep saying this, and I know Aisha wants me to keep saying this, is don't go where it's dangerous. Don't poke a stick into a hornet's nest. Don't meddle with things that you don't understand. Don't pick up the Ouija board. Don't call out to the dead. Don't try and bring them into our world. Don't open gates. Don't act like you know what you're doing because you want to have a fun time at a party because you had a few too many drinks, or you didn't have enough drinks, or whatever the excuse may be. Okay, this is not me saying, leave it only to the professionals, because even the professionals are chuckleheads, and that's what we're laughing over right now. That's what we're talking about now, the people who put themselves into danger. Joel and I have been in this kind of danger. We have been around these things. When I tell you this, but I don't tell you the stories, it's because some of these things you won't even believe. I have had so many people tell me that they didn't think that my story was real about what got me into all of this when I was 5. I've lost count. I get private messages, emails, people telling me this kind of thing. Say, "Oh, it couldn't have really happened like that. It must have been a bad dream when you were 5. Oh, don't I wish? Don't I totally wish? Don't I wish that this stuff wasn't real? But the number of people that I've helped behind the scenes that you don't know about, because I'm not going to put their information out there because it's rude, is quite numerous. It's really quite numerous. And I've helped other people who are gifted as well, because Joel and I are gifted in a different way. We're not mediums. We are, we're the other guys. When things don't go right and you need something, you need stuff to get fixed, you need people like us. And apparently going to be like Sonia as well, and Aisha. Lori will be the kind of person who you go to when you need information on a thing, because her gifts are far and away completely different from anybody else's I have ever met. We're a group of people that are ready to help when you need help, and we want to help, even when it's physical issues and maternal issues. Because like I said, Aisha's if she was my mom, I'd have never had half the problems I have currently. My life would have been completely different, and everything would have been. She's just, and her spiritual gifts run into that sort of thing along the family line, because in many cultures, the family unit is sacred, spiritual thing, and it can expand to include everybody whom you love. And that in and of itself is a fantastic gift. When somebody comes under her aegis of protection, that person might as well be blessed by the saints themselves. I've had too many stories she's told me about people who were neglected, abused, and she took them under her wing and they soared like an eagle. Okay. One of the most wonderful people I've ever met. So
my children the other day were in here, you know, it basically goes along the line where you say that we are the people who are not telling, you know, who are telling you do not summon these things, do not call these things, do not call them upon yourselves or whatever. But my children the other day were in the house yelling, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. I said, wait, where y'all get that from? I said, they heard it on television. Thank God they wasn't in the bathroom in front of the mirror throwing the water on the mirror and stuff. But I told them, I said, don't ever do anything that you see those people do on the internet. Don't just be saying stuff. If they tell you that's something that's summoning the ghost, it's real. Don't sit here and just say to yourself, I don't believe it. You know, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Don't try it. Just don't do that in my house. I don't want that. I don't want to hear you ever saying that again. Quickly. And it's like, Mom, is it real? I don't know if it's real, baby, but I'm not going to try and find out. And I don't want you saying it in my house either. You know, I say, learn how to read. Don't sit here and be trying to learn how to do things that you're not supposed to do. And even on his last video that he did, he's telling us about his friend has a lamp or whatever that summons a genie. You know, and he said, yeah, he said he's kind of scared of it and he don't want to do anything about it, but he's telling the stories that he told about what his friend went through with it. And he said his friend lives like a couple of blocks down the street from his house. And on his video, at the beginning of the video, he asked us, you know, since we're his audience, do we want him to go down there and get it so he can see it? I put on there, no.
Oh my God.
No, do not. That's what I put in his comment section. No, do not touch it. Do not go near it. You know, if anybody in the comment section telling you, go get it, that means they don't love you. Do not touch that thing. Do not go near it. We trust you. We believe you. Leave it alone. You know, I'm never the one to tell somebody, oh yeah, I don't believe you. Why don't you go ahead and, you know, mainly because I've seen ghosts myself. You know, if I've seen it myself, you know, even as a child, I still believe it. Even now, I would never tell anybody to put themselves in harm's way, you know, especially if they've never actually seen it before and knew how to handle it. You know, for you to bring something into your life that you never experienced before, it's going to be worse on you than those of us who have actually. So, man, I'm trying to do my best to keep me and everybody safe. So people need to just stop dealing with those things. You know, we have so much to deal with already here on Earth, you know, between us as people. For us to be calling in, you know, is that we're not supposed to see. Leave them alone. Yeah. To help somebody, leave them alone.
King Solomon was given a gift to seal these things away.
There's an echo.
Yeah. It was given a gift to seal these things away because the jinn, Ifrit, and I've forgotten the name of the other ones. The Jan, Jinn, Ifrit, and these were these are spirits that were supposedly left over from the beginning of the creation of the world. They hung out, and Jehovah did not remove them from the world at first because they weren't interested in messing with humans' lives. And he went to King Solomon and said, I must teach you this seal now so that we can get rid of these things. That's what this is. Okay, we all think of genies like it's Disney's Aladdin. Okay, that's not how they work. All right, that's not how they actually work. Was a series done by the guy who did Freddy Krueger called Wishmaker or Wish something or other. That's how they really work. They hate us. The only reason why in the story of 1001 Arabian Nights, when you read Aladdin and the other stories that had a genie in it, they did what Aladdin said, is because Solomon had already sealed them into an object and made them a slave so that they would be kept away. And most of these objects were hidden, buried, and they're currently under mounds of sand in the middle of what used to be actually a fertile valley that's now a desert near Iran, Iraq, etc. This was done on purpose to get them out of the world. So if somebody actually says, I have an object that has a genie in it, you know, the steps you need to take with this poor bastard is long ones the hell away from them. These things are dangerous for a reason, or else many of the seals of protection that we have from Solomon in order to seal these things in wouldn't exist. He actually crafted it into a ring so that he could seal these things into objects, clay pots, lamps, rings. I can't remember all the things. If you want to research some of this stuff, I implore you, do so, because then you will understand Disney made a nice story based on a really nice story from 1001 Arabian Nights, but has no bearing on the realities of what these things do. You can look them up. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, they're doing, I recently watched a trailer for a new movie that's basically about this Chinese box, and this girl makes this wish on it, and the wishes come true, and she wishes one of her classmates to literally rot, and her classmate cuts to a scene where her classmate, like, her face is like literally becoming rotten, and basically you can kind of get the synopsis of the story from the trailer, is that the whatever it is that's locked in the box will grant you wishes, yes, but it will also make you go mad, make you kill yourself, all sorts of horrible, disgusting things.
Right, and the box is Chinese, and
yeah.
so that you understand, folks, if you have never read 1001 Arabian Nights and you have this idea that Aladdin wears a little fez and he's dressed like he's in the ancient Arab times, that's not true. Aladdin was Chinese. I know, this is going to be shocking to people. Aladdin was Chinese. Look it up again. I know it sounds weird, but that's the truth. From somebody who actually has read all 1001 Arabian Nights, it was no surprise to me. What was a surprise, that was the way that they portrayed it in the movie, because they decided to keep it traditional Hollywood style of how they constantly portrayed the Aladdin story. The only time I've ever seen it correctly done was James Earl Jones played both of the genies to a Chinese boy in the Jim Henson Storyteller. I know you're going to go, James Earl Jones as both genies. Wasn't there just one in there? No, there was two. So this is how badly they've altered the stories. So honestly, go and see this. It's accurate to the story. You'll enjoy it, and you'll have a slightly better understanding. But yes, most of the seals were on boxes and things like that, and they were most of the ones that would still be in existence today that hadn't been buried under tons of sand in the middle of a freshly created desert, because 1,000 years ago, where Iran, Iraq is, that was actually extremely fertile. Good portions of Iraq are still very, very fertile, but there's the shifting sands and stuff, and all over the Sahara area are new deserts over the course of the last 1,500 to 2,000 years. Believe it. There's actually records of the hanging gardens of, brain went numb on the name, hanging gardens of, not Baghdad. Oh boy, I'll remember it after the show's over. I'm terrible with names, folks, but you'll remember I said hanging gardens, and you'll know what the town is or the city was, and they weren't in the middle of the desert. They were the hanging gardens in the middle of a fertile jungle that is now all sand. So yes, don't mess with the wish makers. Don't mess with genies. Don't mess with any of these things. They are dangerous. The least they can do is make you rot. The worst thing they can do is pummel you to death and blow your heart up inside your chest. Yeah, for those of you who are tempted into like using some of these things, there's nothing stopping you from doing a couple of Google searches about the worst things that can happen, the worst things that have happened when doing these sorts of things. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't think that people are hearing it enough from other channels. Because if you look at other channels, they act blithely like this is okay. Oh, no problem. You'll be fine. Do this.
You're completely cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me switch the thing. So. Okay, how's that?
Much better.
Okay, so if you are of a mind that this stuff is not dangerous, do a couple of internet searches on Google for the worst things that have ever happened when people did different things with these different artifacts or replicas of artifacts, because that's what a Ouija board is. It's a replica of an artifact. Look it up before you start, because if I can't actually dissuade you from being crazy, maybe other people's direct stories can. You'll hear too many happy endings, because those are the ones that actually survive to tell you the happy ending is the happy ending. But the people who don't make it, the people who do go crazy, who try to explain everything away as being something other than screwing with whatever it is they were screwing with, those are the ones you don't hear about. And so because you've heard that things can turn out well, you assume that they will turn out well. And I'm telling you now, that's not how it works. I've never asked this, but Sonia, have you ever heard any negative stories about things like this that you'd heard from people?
From my dad, yeah. And like I say, when Farrah's wife mentioned Jim, my radar went, hell no, don't mess with that crazy shit. Because like my dad says, he's had a friend who, like, his dad was from China. And that, and he had stories of people messing with jinn and it not ending well for them. Yeah, like I say, jinn are all like that. You just don't mess with, because they'll act friendly to begin with until they can get what they want, and that's usually their freedom or whatever.
Yeah, and you're the only person who can give them the freedom, and they will, if they suspect that you will never give them freedom, they'll just kill you, because the next person might. These things are older than us, and they don't like us. And I'm not talking in the Lovecraftian sense, where these fake creatures from before the existence of humanity, and they look down on us as if we're. No, that's just one man's stark lunatic ravings. This is real. These are things that have existed for a long time, and it required extreme intervention through the most holy king priest of Jehovah to go after these guys. All right. It is. Oh my gosh, it gives me the shivers. I just remembered Wes Craven's Wishmaker was the series of movies that actually covers this really well. If you want to give yourself some pretty bad dreams, watch this. And I implore you to watch this first. before anybody ever does this again. Now, Aisha, you said Haley he wanted to. Did he actually bring it onto the show, or did he not?
No, he didn't bring it onto the show. He just did a show telling us what his friend has gone through, stories that his friend has given him about what he went through dealing with the thing. And he asked us as his audience, since most people don't believe, would we care for him to go down the street and get it from his friend so we can see it? And he said, I need you to put it in the comment section if you want me to go and get it, and I'll bring it on the next show. So I put in the comment section, don't touch it and don't go near it.
Were there more people who said to get it? Because that may be on its next show, which is kind of scary.
No, I've seen a couple of more who said no. So I'm happy that they did. And I just wanted to make sure that I put in my word to let him know no also, so that way if he get enough no's, he'll be wise enough to listen. And so far, I haven't seen any of them say yes. I just saw a few on there stating that they don't believe it, which means that they're trying to make him prove it in a way without saying yes.
Oh, they're goading him into being the guinea pig.
So, yeah, I saw a few of those.
Oh, this is one of those things that makes me put my head in my hands. Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
For somebody like myself who's actually had to deal with what Joel and I actually called the ghost Wendigo, and I know people are going to say, well, what's that? I thought they were physical. Yeah, so did we. I'm telling you that things that are dangerous enough to be able to reach out and hurt you do exist out there. And this thing was actually sent at me, and by proxy Joel, by the bog creature when I went to Idaho. Now keep in mind, the Wendigo is normally a creature that normally lives along the border in the northeast of our country. So when we saw it in Idaho, it was kind of disconcerting because it was the only thing it could be by all the descriptions and everything we've read. But the thing could literally pull itself out of reality and then appear somewhere else. Now, I looked up years later, because there's not many books at the time. This is 1993, I think. The internet didn't exist, and so we couldn't look up all the scads of information we have now. Why the thing was not able to, since it is a lethal thing, it could not touch us. The reason it could not touch us is because at the time I had gone through so much trauma and had been basically I'd been sexually abused, physically abused, sliced with a sword. I had been beaten, battered, and I actually was welcoming death. That's the only reason that the thing didn't kill me, because you have to be afraid. It feeds on fear until it becomes solid enough to kill you. And I wasn't afraid. I wanted to die. My suicidal feelings at the time were why this thing would not get any closer, and why the bog creature went to finish me off, because this thing couldn't approach. It wasn't until years later that I read that the Native Americans of the the West and the Plains had created this thing called counting coup, where they would attack an enemy, and instead of shooting the enemy dead, would run up and would so intimidate the enemy that they could actually tap it with their bow instead of shooting them dead. And it was considered a greater victory, because it showed more bravery than standing at a distance and killing. And it was that thing that was the reason why the Wendigo didn't come out west and stayed along the Canadian borders, because they'd learned how to scare and how to take away the fear that fed the Wendigo. Without knowing it, I had actually stumbled into the one thing, aside from silver, that the Wendigo feared. and couldn't get past. Joel was, at the time, because he wasn't the target, he knew it wasn't coming after him. And so he was calm. Joel is one of the few people I know of that almost has ice water in his veins. He's poor guy who doesn't even know I'm actually, he'll when he hears the recording, he'll know that I'm praising him. But right now he's asleep because he's sick. That's the reason why it didn't attack him. But I had no fear because I was welcoming the end. And at that point, I'd also been menaced by dreams of past lives that seemed like more of a happy thing than my current life. And so I was ready to go. You can't always count on luck to save you. I was in a good position at that time to survive this, but it's not something you can always plan on occurring. And you cannot say, oh, because I've learned this thing, I can go in and address this creature and survive. We were lucky. When I say we were lucky, it wasn't because I just want you to be afraid. It was because we were lucky. It just turned out that we survived because it was completely out of our hands at the time. You can't count on that luck. You cannot push your luck. People who don't even try to push their luck end up dead or missing. And if you want to hear a few, just put in Wendigo or the Rake or the Cryptid. FYI, it's the same creature. From somebody who's actually stared the Wendigo in the face, it's all the same creature. They just have different manifestations because just like any human, it doesn't look exactly like the next human. Some of these things look a little different from one another, and they all feed the same way. So that's just my 2 cents worth right there. So, Lori, any stories you got on that sort of thing?
No. Gods keep me safe. Praise them.
Sonia.
Yes.
Any personal stories of horrors of things that reached out for you from the night?
No, not really. Like I say, I've had my dad, so it's been okay. Except for like I say, the nightmare we talked about and stuff. That's about it.
Yeah.
I have my dad, so. Dumbledore, you falling.
Sorry, I had to mute you, Aisha. It was reflecting back our sound.
But yeah, like I say, the only other thing I've ever heard of is the Kelpies, and they're like creatures what mostly trick children, usually in a horse or like a pretty person, and they'll actually drown people just for the hell of it.
Well, specifically children. The Kelpie actually, because they eat all of them except for apparently their livers. I don't know why, not the liver, but that I don't know how. I've never encountered it, and I hope I stay that way.
Like my dad says, the only way you can really tell if it's a proper Kelpie is they can get the form of the horse right, except for the hooves. The hooves are always backwards.
Yeah, I'd never read that.
Yeah, well, it's the thing with that. Yeah, you can especially tell if it's one, it's young. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me how my dad knows this. It goes, they can't get the transformation just quite right. Because usually the hair might be like a seaweed feel to it.
Yeah, and one of the magical or horrifyingly dangerous things about the Kelpie is that no matter how many children it wants to get on its back always seems long enough to be able to put all of them on.
Yep.
And so it can be quite disturbing that no matter how, but once the kid's on the back, that's it. They're stuck, and it actually takes someone who knows how to be able to unbind to save the kids. And there's very few stories about that.
Well, there's the only one story I heard about that was, I think it was like, there was a lot of children playing and they saw this horse in the water. They all got on the back except for one who couldn't swim. he was stroking it, he got his hand stuck, and he ended up having to chop his own hand off with the blade his dad gave him.
Well, there is a way to unbind the. There actually is a couple of stories about a woman, a wise woman from a village who knew that the Kelpie had taken some children and had run off, and she went out with she had a silvered knife. Now, keep in mind, folks, I'm not saying silver because this isn't, because it's just convenient. Silvered weapons usually allow you to be able to touch things that normally you could not. And she was actually able to address the Kelpie as it was running towards the water and make it stop, and then use the knife to cause the Kelpie to let go of the kids. And that, you can look up the story. I'm trying to remember the name of the lady. God, it's been a long time. And in Irish legends, it's actually oak wood shillelagh will actually do the same thing. So that's why a lot of the times you'll see that people will actually, in Scotland, they will, the men always travel with what's called a skin dhu, and that's usually a silvered blade because of this. And in Ireland, they walk around, the men will travel abroad with a shillelagh, which is usually tempered or carven oak walking stick with a weighted end. There's reasons in legend and lore behind it, and there are creatures out there that have inspired this, not because people are chicken shit, but because they're well informed. So if you're curious about the skin dhu, I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's spelled Skein Dub H if you want to spell it out and look up the data on it. And to this day, when people go to special events, the skin dhu goes into the sock on the right for the men, and I believe it's the left for the women. And the shillelagh is universally used by both men and women in Ireland. I'm having terrible trouble remembering the girl's name. Wasn't Bridie Murphy? That's the lady who remembered her past lives. This is what I get for having too many stories and data poured into my head from reading over the course of the last 30 years. Eventually, it all just the names run together. The facts don't, but the names do. Anyway, this show is just about over, so I am going to let everybody go, and then we'll go private. And farewell to you all. May the blessings of all you hold dear keep you safe until once more our paths meet. Please, if you like this show, comment, rate, subscribe. I don't care if you give negative comments or positive comments. If you give negative comments, just remember that if you're going to troll, I'm going to use logic and facts to back up what I'm telling you, or we can have a discussion, lively debates. I don't mind. Just don't be a troll. It's a waste of your time. It's not a waste of mine. Thank you very much, and you all have a wonderful afternoon.